head the AI and machine learning products as well as services for eClerx Global. And eClerx is basically a 10,000 plus employee company, which caters to various business problems into retail, marketing, finance, right? Various other services, hospitality, hotels, and all. So I basically work and develop various AI and machine learning products as well as projects for all of these services, right? And I have been teaching here at BI for quite some time. And then for this batch, the micro learning batch, basically, we have set a milestone in teaching this course, an end-to-end data science course that we have. So there are a lot of key modules that we have, in line. And then the part that which I have taught right now is basics of Python, and we have almost completed the entire Python module. Pandas is left. So Pandas is a package that we use basically for table manipulations and database manipulations. So that I'll teach later. But today let's start with statistics as well as basics of visualization within this. So for those who are new, obviously I have shared a link, folks from Board Infinity will share that particular code details with you, right? And then you can basically go ahead and do that yourself. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm talking about the basics of Python and stuff. So from now onwards, I'll be taking the statistics part of it and go ahead and explain you how statistics are fundamentally important in a data science environment. Okay, so how many of you have had a statistics background? I'm not saying the education background, the degree background. I'm saying how many of you have done basic statistics in your work till now? I mean, education till now. Okay, so before I start this, let me just clear a myth. Data science is not pure mathematics, right? So you don't have to have a very high background of mathematics to learn data science, because their data science contains a lot of algorithms. Obviously it has core maths, and there's a lot high level, higher engineering mathematics involved in all of these algorithms. But there are various researchers who have created these algorithms. As a data scientist, it's not very necessary to understand mathematics in deep, because if I say one algorithm, right, like support vector machine is a very old algorithm, 1970s, and there is an entire book of 1200 pages if you want to just learn support vector machines, right? And there's a lot of mathematics involved in it. Now a data scientist cannot read for one algorithm 1000 pages. So to be very specific, you don't have to have a very high background of mathematics, but yes, you need mathematics to some extent. Okay, so we will be teaching you those statistics, probability concepts which you would require to basically understand these algorithms and implement those algorithms. You don't have to do research on these algorithms, right? So I'm just trying to make these things clear. Okay, so let's go ahead and okay, so can you also give me a background, your educational background, so that I can understand, because what happens is that when hundreds of people are there online, right? Right now, how many are there? 25 plus 40, 40 participants. Now, what happens is there might be some participants who have had very core statistics backgrounds. There might be few people who have. So what happens is I need to cater to the needs of both the set of students, those who don't have much background and those who have background. So basis, if you tell me your educational background, it will basically help me to make the flow of this entire thing to be easy, right, for both of them. So if you can tell me just that, that will be helpful. Fine, understood. Okay. So let me first explain you what is data science and why there is a boom. I'll just take 5 minutes and then we will go ahead and do the statistics and stuff. Now, the reason why there's a boom is it's not that the data science has come recently. There was data science was there before and even now, right? There's more concentration on data science now. There's a reason to it. Initially, everybody was starting. So most of the work that or the data that gets generated is into either banking, finance, or retail, right? These are the places where you will have huge amount of data. So initially, what people used to do is they used to do post facto analysis. That means if you consider retail, okay, and everybody must be knowing DMart, Reliance Smart, and all, right? What is post facto analysis? Let's say in a day's time, there is a revenue generation of, let's say, 1 crore rupees, right, in 3 different centers of DMart. Now, if I want to do a post facto analysis, my first question, so there will be a set of questions that I will have in my mind. What are the products that were maximum sold? Where did I get the maximum profit from? Right? What was the logistics cost? Did I have any logistic cost? How many products came in? How many products went? And all those. So when you do these kind of analysis, which is post facto, it is basically called as data analysis. Okay, so I'm just basically clearing out what is data science, and then we will move ahead. Now, if let's say, for example, the DMart company's owner comes to you and says, hey, can you try and find out what would be my sales for a product X? It might be toothpaste, it might be toothbrush or anything in next 6 months. When you're trying to do a forecasting or a prediction or trying to find out certain values for the near future, then that is basically what comes under predictive technology, right? Predictive science, whatever we call it. What I told before data analysis, this is more of descriptive science. That means what happened. Okay. The third one is prescriptive science. Prescriptive science is if you already know that this is what happened and you try to predict what might happen in your future, basis which if you take some decisions, that is called prescriptive science. So these are the 3 fundamental sciences. When you collaborate all of them together, right? Predictive, prescriptive, descriptive, all of them together, then it forms the base for data science, right? And for implementation of data science, we use certain algorithms. There are some basic algorithms which do data mining, right? There are some algorithms, complex algorithms, which basically try and formulate the machine learning. That means if you're trying to help the machine understand how to forecast future or how to find out these values in near future, that is called machine learning. Now, advanced machine learning is there, complicated algorithms are there, and more complicated algorithms are deep learning algorithms. So all of this together is a part of data science. So data science fundamentally, if you ask me, is data analysis. So all of this prescriptive, descriptive, right, predictive, and all those. And advanced data science basically would be your advanced machine learning, deep learning, right, computer vision kind of use cases and all. Okay. Any questions on what I told now? If you have any questions, please put it on the group chat. Once I resolve those answers, then I'll go and go into statistics and visualization. Okay, so the reason why I have not kept a presentation is because, you will have the theoretical understanding of the subject, but will not have a practical approach to it, right? So I will be explaining using normal communication, and then I'll be showcasing your code, right? Okay, so I think they don't have any questions. Okay, so now fundamentally, when you talk about descriptive statistics, you are basically trying to find out what happened with your business or what happened with the problem that you're facing prior, right? Now, let's take a simple example of students' marks, right? So you are basically working as a teacher and you have got around 60 students in your class. And then as a class teacher, you have to monitor all of the 5 subjects that the students are having. and these students are 10th standard students, right? Now your objective as a class teacher is to try and understand how your students are performing. Okay, can you tell me or list me at least 5 questions that you should answer, basis which you will understand how your students are performing? Can you write down those questions in the chat? Good, good. But don't write with respect to mean, mode, median. So I'm saying business questions, like who are the top 10 students in the class? What are the subjects where students are getting maximum number of marks? Which are the subjects where the students are failing? I'm asking about these kind of questions. Okay, so the reason why I'm telling you, because I got to know that most of you are engineering students, second year, third year, and all. Somebody is doing MBA marketing. Now, the objective of data science is not to implement some Python code or run some mean, mode, median. The objective of data science is basically to go ahead and solve certain business problems, right? Now, data science is not related to IT. Let me just clear that first, okay? Because in my team, there are so many people having, say, civil engineering degree, somebody are from economics, somebody are from statistics background, somebody are from, arts background and all. So data science is not related to IT. Let me just clear that first, okay? Second thing is, whenever you try to solve any given problem, first thing you understand is whether the data science is required. I'll tell you a simple example. Everybody must have seen these bank websites, right? Bank, or there are a lot of websites where you'll have a chat bot on the right hand side. Chat bot means the place where you chat, and there is no human agent or human person on the back end. There will be some AI or a machine learning, uh, mechanism which will answer to all of your queries. So let's take a simple example. Example is, you have taken a insurance policy, and your straightforward question is, when is my next due date? Okay, and the system basically tries to answer like 10-15 questions. That means, what is your policy number? Second is, when is my next due date? How many policies have you bought? When is your policy maturity date? Maturity means when it is going to end. Okay, how much money you're going to get back? What is the term insurance policy details? So if you have these kind of questions, you don't require huge machine learning and all to be implemented. It is just a rule based. Some Python program you can write, or a Java program you can write, and try and understand. What you have to ask is, okay, if a customer comes online, you just have to ask, what is your policy ID? And basis your policy ID, you have to go to the backend database and fetch all of these details, right? Now the problem here is 90% of the people are not able to understand that whether the data science, is it a data science problem or no? That's the fundamental thing, right? So always first think if the problem is a data science problem, okay, or does it need prescriptive, descriptive, or predictive kind of a technique, right? So here, the reason why I told you to write those questions is because that whenever you basically go ahead and talk to someone, right, with respect to data science, you should have those questions. Don't directly go to the solution or try to implement it and all, right? So these are the very good questions. How many students are above 90 percentile? Number of students in a particular range of marks. So these are all the questions that a class teacher should ask. Okay. Now let's go one by one. Okay. So before we go one by one, can you just read this? Take 1 minute and I want you to read this that I have marked. Great, done. Okay, so let me just go through that one by one. Okay, so there is a package in Python called Pandas, which will help us basically read the Excel file, right? Most of the cases, right, whenever you are trying to solve a data science problem, either you will get databases, right? That is only 10% of the cases, or the client can give you an Excel sheet which contains all the data. Okay, so now if you see here, what we are trying to do, there is a Excel file called freedom_choice.csv. Okay, so what we are doing here, you can go through my cursor. Okay, import pandas as pd. So pandas is a package which help us read the Excel file, create the Excel file, and also do data manipulations. I mean, read the columns within the table and all those. If you go here, what we are doing is pd.read_csv. PD is called alias names of pandas, because sometimes what happens, you don't write the entire package name. You want a shorter name, right? Like say for example, people have nicknames. Similarly, what Python helps us to do is create a nickname for a particular package. Okay, the package name is pandas and the nickname is PD. When you write pd.read_csv, there is a function read_csv within this pandas package. Okay, it reads the CSV file. So okay, and what we are trying to do is df1. So df1 is a pandas data frame. So I will show you what does df1 look like. Sorry. Okay, so if you see here, your data frame looks like freedom and choice. Okay, so there are two columns. One is freedom and second is choice. And you have got the third column called date, and there are some entries. Okay, now I'll tell you one by one, step by step. This is reading the particular file, okay, and skipping the first two rows. Next is we are renaming the column names as date, freedom. Okay, so Vishal, skip two rows means first two rows you are skipping. Okay, I'll show you why. let me just copy this, paste it here. I will remove skip 2 rows. Okay, and then I will write df1. Sorry. Okay, so can you see the data frame without skip rows? Okay, CSV full form is comma separated values. It is basically something like a shorter version of what you call shorter version of your Excel. Any question? Any questions on this? Okay, let's go ahead. I'll just remove the statements that I have added. Okay, can you all tell me what is this? What can be this? Perfect. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to set the index to be date. Can you tell me why? Okay, so there are 2 points here. One is the date that we have, right? If we set it as an index, people sometimes feel that there is a relationship between the numbers versus the time. Okay, for example, if you take share market, right? Now there's a meaning to the time at which the share price was present, right? Let's say 2019 June, and the share price now. There are a lot of time dependency. Okay. Second thing is to sort it. Now you can sort it otherwise without creating the index, but if you create the index, it is easily sorted. Next is finding out the numbers basis the date. Okay, Manoj. So why it's not having a month? That is the data side thing. Okay. So the reason why I'm telling you is that uh, let's say, for example, that every day you don't capture the data, you capture it month-wise. Okay. So in those cases, you get the month-wise value. Same thing is, let's say, for example, sales of a particular apparel. Let's say 15 days the shop is not there. So day-wise data you obviously will not get. You will have to accumulate it at a month-wise level. That is the reason we have got month-wise. Actually, I think that days are not there instead. Obviously, their dates are not there. Okay, so somebody asked me with respect to the share market. Okay, so I'll tell you, whenever you take any share, right? Let's say, for example, I took the share of Reliance Industries in June 2019, and now the share price is different. Now, whenever you try to do some analysis on the share market, the date at which you bought and the date at which you are trying to sell is very much important. Is it not that today's share market price of Reliance is dependent on the share market price of Reliance in June 2019? Yes or no? Right? So sometimes this, so most of the cases, your current value of that particular variable might depend on your past records, basis time. That is very much there. All right. So, and one of the best example, does your current marks depend upon your past marks in your engineering? No, right? Because let's say first semester, I can fail all the papers, but there's something change that has happened, and now I am getting 80% marks. That is also possible, right? Can you give me some examples where the current value of the variable depends upon the past value, except share market? Okay, good one. Okay, and great. So your land price, property price, and all will depend upon um, the time, right? Now, let's go ahead and understand one by one. Okay, so in place is equal to true basically means that you are trying to reset the index basis date and replacement is done by date and it is true. Let's do it with false. Okay, so that you are. Abhinav, did it answer your question? Okay, so let's move ahead and I will just make it true. Okay, so head df1 dot head means top. How many are there? 5. Df1 dot tail means bottom 5. Okay. Now let's go to descriptive statistics. As I said, data analysis is one of the part where you do analysis post facto. Post facto means the thing has already happened and now you're trying to describe it. Okay, so if you click on describe, you will get all of these. I want you to look at this, 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 and this, and I'll explain you one by one. Once you are done, please write done. Good question, Rafi. So data mining and ML not exactly have this very same algorithms, right? Data mining is fundamentally to extract the data that is relevant for you. Now, what these most of the textbooks have done is they have basically gone and put all the algorithms that are available, right? Now, tell me, the word data mining means extracting the data or extracting certain patterns from it, right? Now, there are few set of algorithms that not only try to define the patterns or get the patterns, but also extract or automate that entire process. Okay, so the fundamental difference between data mining and machine learning is data mining helps you to extract pattern, get information of the data and all. Machine learning is more related to extracting the patterns, yes, but automate that entire process of trying and finding out basis these patterns what can predict future, right? You can predict future and extract that. So data mining is the very primary step to understand it. Machine learning is an automation process. The textbooks might have same algorithms, right? But fundamentally the difference between both of them is this. Did I answer your question? Correct. Yeah, Ujjwal, we will discuss this later. Yes, both are totally I mean, it's not totally different, but they are different things. Okay. Can anybody tell me in this 39 that we are looking at, what is the 25%, 50% and all? Quartiles? Okay. Anybody who do not know these concepts? Is there anyone who does not know these concepts? Okay, so for those who do not know, let me just open Paint. You can see the Paint screen, right? Yeah, great. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Let me create a graph. Okay, it won't be good because I'm doing it on mouse. Okay, let's say X and Y. Now, let's say X is house prices and Y is something else, or X is marks of one student in some subject and Y is some other subject. Okay, and I have got values like this. Can you see those points, small points that I'm drawing? Yeah, great. Okay, so these are the points. So X is, let's say, marks in math and Y is science. Okay, and these are all the marks of all the students that I have in my class. Now, let's say, for example, that I want to extract some analysis from it. Okay, and what is the analysis is what are the top 10 students, okay, top students who have got maximum marks in both the subjects. What I did is, as a layman, I just cut that this particular graph into 4 parts. Can you tell me what will be this? Less marks in science, less marks in maths. What is this? More marks in science and less marks in maths. More marks in maths and more marks in science. This is more marks in maths, less marks in science. Understood this concept? Don't think with respect to implementation or anything. Let's talk business, right? Now this is very straightforward thing that I can do. But now as a faculty, I would want to understand, just a second, this is not, yeah. Let me just create a separator.
I will use this space. Okay. And now I want to understand the distribution. How are they looking? How are the people looking? Okay. So there is a method in statistics, okay, called quartiles. So what it happens is, think of a plane line. Okay. So I'm teaching those who are new to it. Now, when I actually thought of understanding the distribution, what do you mean by distribution? How are the marks for a particular set of students in one subject? Okay, I'm not talking about two subjects here, okay, one subject only. Let's say mathematics. This was a two subject comparison. This is now what I'm drawing is one subject comparison. So what happened is, don't mind my graph. So it will not be like this. It will be very proper. It will have a proper curve. So what I found out is there are students who are getting less marks near to zero, and there are students who get 100 marks. Okay, but it's not like every student will get. So if I have 60 students in the class, everybody will not get unique marks. Unique marks means everybody will not get the marks like one, other fellow two, third, and this marks three is not repeating for other person. Okay, so you will not get unique marks. Okay, there will be some people who will get around 50, 10 people who will get 50 or in some range and all. So what I did, I created a set of students and populated this distribution. Distribution means range of marks. Okay, once I did that, I created some segments. So don't worry if you are not understanding this diagram. Okay, I created certain segment. What I said is, okay, this is 0% of population, this is 100% of population, this is 25% of population, 50, 75. Okay, percent of population. Okay, now this can be 50, cannot be 50. Okay, this might shift. Now there are so many people who will be present here. Let me call it group A. People who are present here, group B, C, D. There are four groups. Okay, now this is what is called, can anyone tell me what is this? Correct, it will be probability distribution, and in this case it is a normal distribution. Okay, and fundamentally this is called distribution. Distribution means how are your values looking across multiple set of people, that means population. So whatever fundamental probabilities are there or occurrences are there or number of people within that, when you distribute them according to the actual values, then it is called a distribution strategy. Okay, now normal distribution means that you will not have certain set of numbers which are very nearer to the end parts, like everybody is nearer to 0 and everybody is nearer to 100. It will not be like that. Okay, so this is called a probability distribution, and this case it's called a normal distribution. Any doubts? Any doubts, anyone? Simple. Okay, when you plot this using Python, right, can you imagine seeing this from the top? From the top, so this is a side view. From the top, if you see, I'll tell you how it looks. Can you tell me what is this? Right, this is called a box plot. Okay, understood these concepts? Let me come back to the code. Now, can you see the code? Yeah. So if you see this part, right, minimum is what? In this case, minimum is this. Okay. Maximum is what? In this case, the maximum is 100%. Okay. 25% is I have given 50% standard deviation, mean. Can you tell me what is standard deviation? How much are the actual data points or data, right? So if you see here, freedom from one another, from the mean of this particular entire data set. So this is the data set. Okay. So don't worry, data set is very big. We are just doing last and first. So that is the reason we are getting a small number. Okay. How spread is the data? How spread means that from a mean line, how far is the data? I'll show you a pictorial view. Don't get confused. I'm just creating a 2D view just for your understanding. Imagine that this line tells you the characteristic of all the data that is present here. Okay, sorry, here. Okay. And if you go ahead and plot it, okay, in a two-dimensional structure, you will find some data points that do not fall on this line. Okay. So the distance between this and to the line, perpendicular distance, will tell you the error or the spread. Okay. So now, can you take 5 minutes and tell me what is the actual difference between standard deviation and variance, and where do we use it? Take 5 minutes, go on internet and try and find out and give me an answer. I precisely want to go slow because everybody should understand very detailed part of this. Okay, so my question is, you have to try and find out where do we use standard deviation and where do we use variance. I want precise answers. So if you take the value of marks of a student, can you tell me where do we use standard deviation and where do we use variance? Guys, I will ask you a straightforward question. If your column has values less than 1, let's say 0 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, which one will you use? Standard deviation or variance? Why? If you square a smaller number, typically you will get a smaller, so let's say for example 0.1. If you square it, what will happen? It will become 0.01, right? So that is very fundamentally important. Second thing is standard deviation is typically applied wherever you want the points to look closer to the actual line of force. Okay, and variance will go ahead, and so variance is used, very much used, when you want to understand outliers specifically. Everyone knows what is an outlier. Anyone who does not know an outlier? No, not min max. So imagine there's a class of students, 60 students in a class, and these 60 students basically have written maths examination, and there are only 3 students who got more than 90, but whereas rest of all the students got less than 40. Can you tell me who is the outlier? Correct, those 90. This does not mean that the values will be outside the boundary. So no value can be zero, outside 0 and outside 100, right? The fundamental reason is you cannot get marks less than 0 and you cannot get marks more than 100. So you obviously will have values within that, but if there are certain values which are very much unrelated to the population, these are very far away from the population, then it is called an outlier. Okay, correct. So whichever is away from the median or away from the population, that is called an outlier. Understood? Got it. Okay, so let me just move ahead. Okay, so here everyone knows what is max, right? Max is max. Okay, max is maximum value, or max is, let's say for example 100 students in a 60 students in a class, whoever gets the maximum marks is the, right? Correct, Shivani, right? So either on this side or that side, if you have very less values and rest of the population is somewhere in between, okay, then you will have outliers on both the sides. Okay, let's go ahead. Everyone knows what is max, what is min, right? Minimum value, maximum value. Range is what is the min and max, as I told you. I'll just move fast, okay? Everyone knows what is a median. Median is where the population resides, okay? Next is mode. Okay, median and mean are typically applied on numerical data like marks of a student, height of a person, and all. Mode is applied on category. Category means, let's say, for example, first class, distinction, third class, pass, how many people are in each of them. And basically, mode means frequency of occurrence of an element or a particular value. Okay, so typically, mode is applied rather than numbers, it is applied on categories. Okay, but you can apply on numbers as well. It's not that you cannot apply, but the thing is, let's say if it's very much scattered, the points are very much scattered, then there is no meaning of applying a mode. Okay, got it? So mode is okay. So if you see here, I'll just showcase you just a second. Okay, so basically if you see, this 56 is the maximum occurring value within this set. Okay. So Vishal, D type is the data type. So data, if we had attended the previous sessions, we discussed about the data type. So you can have integer, you can have the other different types of data that are present, like say for example, you got string and all those. So that is the fundamental data type. You can have float 16, float 32, float 64 also. Next, let's go ahead. Okay, so matplotlib is one basic uh, what you call package which helps you to do visualization, the plotting and all. So if you see here, right, df1.plot. Df1 is what? Can you guys tell me what is df1? So df1 is a table, right, that we had extracted before. What are the columns that df1 is having? Can you tell me? One is freedom, second is choice. Okay. So if you see this graph, what do you understand? If you see from this data, right, freedom and choice actually are going in line with one another, right? Almost plus minus. And there's only one point, that is 2016 July, 2000, 2014 June to 2016 July. There is a high spike in choice, whereas freedom is still consistent. Can you see that? Great. So now let's move ahead. Okay, so this is basically a scatter plot that I had tried creating here. If you see here, right, this is the point that I was talking about. Please switch off your webcams, guys. Okay, so now let's go ahead and understand. Okay, so here scatter means you understood, right? And the color of these dots are green in nature. So if you have any questions, please ask, okay? While I'm just skimming through. Next is basically histogram. Anyone knows what is a histogram? Histogram basically is to find out the frequency of occurrence of a band. Band means, let's say, for example, how many students are between 45 to 50. Okay. And I create one band. Then what will happen is I will get all the students who have even got 46, 47, 48, 49. Okay. And then I will create a bar out of it. So if you see here, the minimum is 45 and maximum is 75. Okay. Whatever number. And if you see the bar, there are 4 people who have got marks around 47. Okay. Similarly, according understood, there are no from there are very few there are 0 people at this point, 0 at this point, 0 at this point, like that. Understood? For freedom and for choice. So if you write red, this will come in red. If you write purple, this will come in purple. Understood? Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, now let me give a brief about what is an inferential statistic. Inferential means finding out the reason behind the story, right? Trying and understanding what could have possibly gone wrong or good or right, right? And then analyze that. Now there is a concept called correlation. Correlation means relationship between two different variables. Can you tell me the variable names here? One variable is freedom, second variable is choice. Okay, so correlation between them is 0.032. I'll tell you, okay, everybody have to concentrate on this concept very well. I'm just cleaning this and starting a new file, not saving this. Okay, if you have a chart like this and you have values like this, okay, and this is x and this is y. Okay, now if I want to calculate correlation between x and y, and if it is approximately equal to +1, or let me just clean this one. This is okay, file new. Okay, now let me explain it pretty clear. Yeah. Now let me explain it pretty clear. Okay, let's say for example I calculate the correlation of x comma y. Okay, and that is approximately equal to +1. I'm trying to showcase you how will the graph look. Okay, and okay is equal to -1 and approximately, sorry, this is also approximate, is equal to 0. I'll show you how the graph looks. If you have +1, your values will be like this: x, y. I'll create. Guys, if you have any question in between, please ask. Okay, y, x. I'm explaining in the most simplest manner. Okay, if your correlation between x and y, that is your freedom and choice, not exactly a straight line. If you see, the points are like this, but it is going in a positive fashion. Okay, here it is going in a negative fashion. Here it is scattered. Okay, now can you see this data, this scatter plot, and tell me what might be the value? Very simple. Nearer to 0, correct? What is the real value? See, you have already become statisticians. This is very simple, right? If you see the value of this is real to nearer to zero, correct. So fundamentally, when you see this scatter kind of a scatter plot, then you have to automatically understand that valuations will be nearer to this. What does this mean? This relation, positive, negative, no relation. No, Vishal. If you interchange freedom and choice, it will be same. Don't worry. Correct. So if in this case, freedom increases, choice increases. Here, freedom increases, choice decreases. Here, freedom increases, choice no one knows. Understood? Got it? Any questions? This is a very easy way to answer it, right? Okay, now let's understand. Now you have to tell me what is this. Correct. We have created a new table, responsibility and choice. Now see this value. Okay, can you see this value? Now tell me which one of this maps. See the value 0.744. Now tell you which one. Yeah, this one. Understood? Yes. Can we plot this and see so that we are very much clear? Okay, I don't want to write the entire code. I'm just copy pasting. Okay, please don't mind. Okay, and then df2 plot responsibility chart screen. Does this and this look similar? There is no values here. See, there are no values here. It is going in one line, right? Kind of same. Obviously, kind of same because this value is not 1. It is 0.74. Okay, understood? Okay, do you guys want 5 minutes break? Obviously, I also need, and we'll come back. Yeah, 5 minutes. Sure, sure. I'll share the notebook.
So Aditya, sorry to interrupt, Hemant sir. Aditya Datta, if you have properly joined in Slack, you can find all the notes converged into a zip file and shared it 3 days ago. So kindly look into that, and if you are facing any issues in that same, you can contact me. You have my mobile number available, and also I will put it in the chat box. You can contact me. I can help you out in guiding you to get your notes. It is already shared, right? Please give me a call tomorrow. I'll sort this out. Thank you.
No, no, the class is not over. I've just stopped screening. Right, shall we start? Great. This is a very good, interesting use case that I'm trying to explain here, right? Let's go one by one. First is called the Pandas data reader. The fundamental thing of this data reader is basically to extract various columns as well as to extract any inbuilt data set that they have, right? So first is import Pandas data reader. Then from data reader, I'm importing data. Okay. Next, as you know, Matplotlib basically is what to call the visualization package. Okay. Next is import pandas as PD. This is basically the pandas package which we used for the previous session, right? Next is let's download the Netflix data, and this is something like a share market data. Okay, so if you see here, Netflix is equal to data dot data reader. So data is this. Within that, there is a function called data reader. Okay, you all have to be with me for this. Start date NFLX. What do you mean by this? Can you see my screen? Everyone has joined, right? Is there anyone who has? So everyone has to join. Okay, so if you see, this is the share market price of Netflix. So what this system is doing, it's trying to get the share market price of Netflix from 1/1/2009 to 31/1/2020. Okay, so let's take for example 0304. Sorry, can I get this? No, there is some issue. Oh no, I can get this. Okay. Okay, so I have data till 27/3. Can you see this? Guys, everyone, can you see this? This is basically the stock market
that we are trying to access, and this is the stock code. So if you see, I'm trying to extract from 1/1/2009 to 3/4/2020.
But if you see the head, let me just, okay, let me just do it here. Just hang on, guys. Okay, so I'll do a head. And the first data that I get is 31/12/2008. But I selected 1/1/2009. What's the reason? Let me just check this. Okay, so let me just check from 1/1/2006 to 3/4/2020. Okay, but it starts from 3/1. That means there was no value that day. It might be a Saturday, Sunday, or something. Okay, so there might be a holiday. Let's take some other number. 1990. Was Netflix there in 1990? I'm not sure. I think it started in 23/5/2002. Okay, let me also just check right here. Yeah, correct. I'm just putting some number and checking. Okay, I don't know when Netflix started. Okay, so Netflix, the first stock entry for Netflix came on 23/5/2002. Okay, and right now we have got 4,497 entries. Can you guys check this? Are you able to see the screen? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Any questions still here? We read the pandas reader, we read all the packages, and now we extracted the Netflix data, stock market data, and now we are just printing the head. Yes. So Vishal, let's not get into all that, right? Those are all stock market details. Okay. Next is, yeah, Rishi, we can extract any company data if you know the code to it. So here, this is the code is NFLX. Let me check for Apple. Yeah. Okay. We just rerun this. So, Rishi, are you clear? Then let us just run this. Okay, so this is very important from date time. So if you want to understand, because in US the way they write the date structure and the way they write the date structure in India is different. Okay, so if you want to extract that date, you want to understand the current date, you want to find out how much time did the execution of a particular program took. So normally what you do is you extract the start time, you extract the end time. End time minus start time is the total time taken. Right. Okay, so date time is a very important package. You can take this offline and read. Now, Netflix date, is there a column here? Netflix date is there. Okay, so the date is there. is equal to pd dot to date Netflix date. Now let me just print this. What is the difference between this and this? Okay, let me just do one thing. Let me remove this so that you will have a clear understanding. I will run from first. Okay. Yeah. Right. So the index has got set to this date, the date. Okay. Now let's see the styles available. So there are various ways in which you can plot. Okay. So I'm not going deep into all of this. Next is we are taking a style. Style means the way the background looks, the way the structure looks and all those. Okay. So don't worry about this. You can use others as well. Netflix plot title is Netflix adjusted closing price. Okay. And then, yeah, we are taking the column adjusted close. Okay. So if you see here, closing price, figure size is 10 cross 5, 10, 5. Okay. And the value is red. Okay. So let me just make it purple. Not very clear. Red. Okay. I don't know why it has become this. Okay, I guess there is some, let me take a dark. Yeah, this is better. Okay, can you see this? Yeah. Adjusted close is clear. Now let's go ahead. Can you tell me what is happening here in this? We are trying to find out the percentage change that is happening in a cumulative fashion. Okay, so today let's say the price is 10, tomorrow it is 50, 15. Okay, so what is the percentage change? 50%. Okay, so that kind of percentage change across time we are trying to do. So initially if it was 0 and this is the maximum, right, that you have, this is the maximum, then this is how it is moving. Did you understand this? This is basically a cumulative returns. Okay, let's not go into the stock market complexities. I'm just trying to explain you the plot and what does it mean. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Okay, now this is basically, can you tell me what it is? The point 11 that you're seeing here is the change between the previous and the current value of the stock. Got it? Previous and the current value. So here you will not get the actual values of the stock. You will get just the difference. Let's go ahead. Okay, so now what we are going to see is basically stock market analysis with respect to cryptocurrency. Okay, the reason why I tried to get this use case is because people are very much interested in cryptocurrency and stuff, and it's legalized in so many countries. So let's go ahead and see. So I've created a key here. Okay, and this package is a time series package. Time series is basically a logic where you try and define the future value of a variable basis the past value of that particular variable across time. That is called time series. Okay, so let's just run this. Okay, the TS is time series. You have the key intraday for DIS. Let's see what is DIS. DIS is Disney, I guess. Yeah, DIS is Walt Disney. So we are getting the value. Let's use or let's say let's take this only. Okay, so if you see here, this is like a JSON kind of architecture where you have the date, you have the time. What are the columns? First is open, high, low, close, and the volume. So basically open means at what rate did the stock open, what was the highest value on the entire day, what was the lowest value on the entire day, and what was the value of the stock when it got closed, and total volume that was traded, how many stocks got traded. Okay, this is the basic structure of the data set. So date, time, and the values. So next, let's go ahead and through this. Okay, so this is basically creating the structure. So I'm just converting this into a table. Okay, let's see if it works. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so did you understand this? This is very straightforward. Just we are converting this into a table. Yeah. Let's see. Now we are trying to plot Bitcoin. Okay, so symbol is Bitcoin, BTC. Just let's search Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is 5,20,000. So imagine people having like 100 Bitcoins or 200 Bitcoins. Okay. So what are we trying to extract here? So what is the current value of it? So if you see here, BTC is from 4,000 to 18,000. Market is CNY, right? So if you clearly see, that's the number. So if you what this code does is it goes and extracts cryptocurrency. There is an API key. So if you want to generate this API key, you have to go to Alpha Vintage and then extract it. Okay. Don't copy my key. Next is what is the market, Chinese market, and what is the symbol BTC and the current value of it. If you plot it, current value across is 4,000. It has gone to 18,000 and now it's approximately 8,000. It is the value, Bitcoin value. Did you understand, guys? This is a very useful code for all of you. Okay, next is, oh, okay. So there is a problem. So I forgot to add the file. Yes, let me just check right there. Okay. Let me just move this, okay? Move section 1. Okay, now it is going to work. I copied it into a different directory, sorry. Okay, so can you see this data right now? Month, golf, soccer, tennis. Can you tell me what does this mean? Number of tournaments that have happened on this month across the country for this particular sports. Let's take that. Okay, and now we're just converting the column names into, so when you write column underscore names and put it in a list, these column names will now get converted into these. Understood? Any question? Sorry guys, just a second. There's some battery issue. Okay, let's move ahead and let's see tail sum. Okay, so when you write is.any, right, it just tries to check if there is a null value within that and then sums it up. Okay, and then if you see here there is no null value, then we are setting it as the month. We write describe, you are getting these statistics again, and when we plot, you will get all of the plots. So if you see, plot is classic and size is 12, 6. This is 12 and this is 6. Font size is 10 for these. Line width, the width of these lines that you see here is 4. Plot.show will show this particular plot. Any questions on this? Okay, so let's move on to the summary stats. So let's read that. I will just move this to just a second, guys. I'm just closing this full screen. Okay, let's do with the same data set. So if you see here, we had the month, we replaced it. Okay, what is the shape? 5 rows and how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 5 columns. Okay, so we have set it as index, so 5 columns will be there. So if you print sports dot head, sorry, 1 second. Okay, now tell me what is the difference between this and this. Correct, yeah, index value has changed. So that is the reason here you have got 6 columns and here you have got 5. That is the reason 5 is given here, right? Then next is describe. Okay, what is the difference between this and this? 5 and 6. It's just transpose, okay? We have just shifted the axis and now it has transposed. Okay, next is, can you tell me what does this mean? All the unique entries in the column golf. Simple. Okay. And the sportsman is minimum in all of those. Max is maximum in all of those. Any questions on this or shall I move ahead? Okay. Let's go. Measure of central tendency, mean, mode, median. Okay, so for golf it is 26. Tennis, okay. Now let's come to range and percentile. Range, you know what is the range in golf, soccer and all, right? It is very simple. Next, percentile. So if you consider describe as percentiles, then it will give you the ranges in a proper fashion. See, but if you do simple describe, what do you get? You will not get all of this. You will get min, 25, 50, 75 max. You will not get 90. And now let's see IQR. Can you guys tell me what is this? Zero is the index. Somebody asks me, right? Okay. Correct. So the distance between this 75% and 25% is 25 for golf. Okay, what does this mean? 25 population? Okay, now I want you to read this carefully and tell me what does this mean. This is the standard deviation that is getting calculated. Right, now let me just shift to this point, and this is the variance that calculates. So here the standard deviation 18 and here the variances. What is variance? Variance is the measure of the spread similar to standard deviation, right? Now the reason, when do you use variance? When you have a larger numbers. When you use standard deviation, typically smaller numbers, and if you want the points close, right? So that is the one. I will obviously share the code with you. These are not difficult to understand. It is very easy. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now let's say 2.2. Okay, now we will start with grouping the data. Okay, grouping means, let's say you have got three different data frames. Okay, for simple example is marks of a student, and marks of a student for 10th standard there is a different table, 12th standard different table, and engineering different table. Now I want to combine all of them basis some standard number or ID or something like that, and all the IDs across all these years, 10th, 12th, and engineering, you had the same ID number. Let's imagine. Now when you group all of them together, then you will understand how you have studied across the time, right? So here if you see, we are first importing pandas, then we are creating a dictionary. Dictionary contains the team names. So these are all can be basketball teams or whatever, right? Phoenix, Hawks, Cardinals, and or rugby teams. And this is the year and the number of games that they have won. Okay, in game one, game two, or maybe number of strikes that they have done and all those. Okay, so hypothetical data set with game scores for three teams. So three teams are what? Phoenix, Hawks, Cardinals. Okay, and when you convert a dictionary into a data frame, the data frame actually looks like this. Understood? This is the same thing, this and this. Okay, so Phoenix in year 2000 in game one, they did 30 scores. Okay, next is tf dot group by year. Can you tell me what is this? What is happening in this? The teams have gone. This will tell you the total scores. Okay, so game one, game two, game three, game four, year wise, it is cumulatively added. So it has then added these values within that, and you have got this. So here, if you see, the teams are gone. Next, what do you mean by this? Correct. Months truncated into years. Yes. Now, can you tell me what is this? So game three, selecting game three. Okay, so let's say game three that we have, and we are taking the team. So it is giving you game three may overall what was the total score that submitted, that grouped. Okay. Next, can you tell me what is this now? Group by year and team sum. So in this year for this team in group game one, this was the value. Understood? This anyhow you have to keep in mind. Okay, so when I send you the code, you have to go ahead and run each and everything, and please prepare notes. Okay, now let's do this. Can you tell me what is happening here? Okay, so now, okay, access is for index, so don't worry about this. Okay, then is reset index that you have. Just running this, you're resetting index. Now if you reset index, your original index was year, right? That year has gone and now it has become a column. Understood? Now let's do this. Okay, now if you can help me to understand this, it will be very good. Can you tell me what it is? You're grouping by team, and what you're considering? You're considering game 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you tell what is this? Okay, so what this function does is iteratively for each and every game, it basically sums up all the values and puts that across. So if you see here, tell me what is the difference between, okay, just a second, this, okay, or let's say this, df dot group by year dot sum, and this. What is the difference? Okay, let me just print it one below the other so that it will be useful for you to understand. I will just write plus, I'll write this. Okay, now tell me what is the difference with this and this? Oh, sorry, wrong place. And I will just write there is no difference, right, between this and this. Then why do you need this function? That's my question to all of you. Yeah, what is the difference? Selecting one filter, again apply filter. So where is it applying filter? So if you see, till this particular point it is the same. But if I want to cut and find out only few, then what to do? So let me just copy this. I'm just trying to understand. If you click here, see, what is the difference? Okay, so for all of you, the homework is to tell me the difference between this. I'm just copying and pasting in the group. Okay, this and this. Can you do this small part? Yeah, okay. Let's move ahead. There's again a sum, again a sum, again apply, right? Now, when you combine apply, right, df apply, and then you give mean, you will get give 1, 2, 3, 4 and the mean values. Okay. So this is the one. Okay. So what I want you to do is basically after the session is over, I want you to go ahead with 2.3, 2.4. Okay. So basically don't do till 4 and 5, just complete 2 and complete 3, right? 3 will basically contain your missing data and all. So if you do this point, I'll basically go faster within these particular codes one by one, because at least I need one more session for us to close the basic statistics, probability and everything within this, right? So we will do 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 2 complete it, right? 3 and 4 we will do in next session, but it's better if you all do 3 for the next time so that I can do faster, right? The reason why I was going slowly is because some of us do not know very fundamentals of statistics and stuff. That's it. So from next session, I'll basically move bit faster, right? So I want you to complete 2 and complete 3, and then from next time I'll start with 3 and complete 4 as well. Okay. So today I'll be ending the session here. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please put it on Slack and then I'll be able to answer it.